Mississippi racing. Might as well. I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong, don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. Yeah, we're lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay, Mississippi racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Welcome to Sideline to Sideline. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday. You know what that means. It's time to talk some football. But first, let's introduce the crew. Ladies and gentlemen, first, we call him the Prince of Production. He is Boston's favorite son. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Kyle Edwards. Kyle, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. Look, it's week 2 preseason, another chance to watch my team. It's been kind of a rough week based on the news I've seen, but another week closer to the start of the regular season, so I can't complain.
No, fair enough. And right below him, ladies and gentlemen, it is Philly legend. He doesn't take the checkdowns. He doesn't throw medium. This dude takes it deep, ladies and gentlemen. The Godfrey. Godfrey, how you doing?
Doing all right. Just waiting for my Eagles to come off the top rope with the Macho Man elbow on the Patriots, even though it's preseason. Gonna unleash the beast. Jalen Hurts on that defense. Matt Judon's gone, so we don't got to worry about that guy. He's in Atlanta. Kind of bitter. You can watch him, though. You're in Atlanta area, right? So you won't miss him. But, it's football's getting closer and closer. Preseason is starting to matter a little bit more. And, it's football. Can't be mad.
Yeah, preseason's been a lot of fun to keep up with. And, of course, last but certainly not least, we can call him Mr. 200. Actually, 201 now. Wire to Wire just celebrated their 201st episode. And here we are, Thursday night, the man who makes this all happen, ladies and gentlemen, the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. How you doing, sir?
I'm phenomenal, fired up, getting this shared out as much as I can get it shared out to make sure we're all over the intrawebs. I see y'all checking in already. What's up, Mo? What's up, Jory? I'm fired up. It's NFC North week. It's AFC North week. Arguably the two best divisions in football, and we're covering them on the same week. If you are not fired up for this week, I don't know where your pulse is. I'm fired up. I'm ready to rock and roll. So, Brett, I kind of want to leave it to you. Before we get into the NFC North and the AFC North, we got to talk about some trade talk. But I will say this, Brett, I'm going to get it prepared while we're talking about the trade talk and the things that have happened this week. But are we closing with your Packers or are we opening with your Packers? Are we going NFC North first or are we going AFC North first?
Let's do AFC North first. All
right, so I'll get all that prepped up for the AFC and NFC North, but we got some news that came down the pipeline today. Breaking news. I wish we had a breaking news button. Let's throw the breaking news button in. The Atlanta Falcons not only traded for Matthew Judon yesterday, today, just an hour ago, signed Justin Simmons. Guys, I don't know if you remember how good of a safety Justin Simmons is, but he was a 4-time All-Pro safety. He has the most interceptions out of the safety position since he's entered the NFL. Justin Simmons, Matthew Judon. It seems as if the Atlanta Falcons are righting their draft wrongs. Let's talk about Kyle's, redheaded stepchild. He lives in the area. He doesn't really claim them as his team, but he understands them. How do you feel about the Atlanta Falcons' moves so far? Last 48 hours, last 24 hours, forget 48. Last 24 hours have been exciting. Got a lot of people in Atlanta screaming, rise up. What's your thoughts?
I mean, look, they scream rise up and every year for everything. So they do that anyway. But I will say that picking up Judon the way that they did makes a lot of sense. Their biggest pass rusher last year was Calais Campbell, who's not there anymore. They have Grady Jarrett, even though he missed half the season last year, he's been their best D lineman. So now you bring Judon to that line, who, you know, he had his own injury issue last year, but 2 years ago, he had like 13 and a half sacks. If he can bring anything close to that to Atlanta, then they will be a much better team, because Grady Jarrett still gets double teams because he's just that dominant in the middle. And if you can allow Judon to face single coverage, he can get some things done. I think the Simmons move, I did not see that one coming, and I think it's a great pickup for them as well on the back end. Like, their secondary is pretty good, but he obviously fills a hole that they definitely need. Like, you don't pick up guys like Simmons just, you know, willy-nilly, and he doesn't do anything for you. Like, he's going to improve that defense. And, you know, like I said, if Judon can pressure quarterbacks, it obviously makes their job easier on the back end. But now, even if you get time back there, you're dealing with Bates and Simmons. Like, that's tough. So I like what they're doing. You know, they seem like they are heading in the right direction. Like I said, Ritter gone. Smith had a rough year last year. So far, Raheem Morris and the front office have done pretty well. So I give them a lot of credit for what they did.
So as a Patriots fan, we'll ask you this before I get Brett and Godfrey's opinion. I said yesterday on Wire to Wire and on Coffee and Sports in the Morning when they were talking about Matthew Judon, I'm like, you guys got to trade him. You guys got to get him out of there. You guys are going to lose this year. You're losing another year of a very good player's prime. Get an asset for him and rebuild. As a Patriot, for everything I've heard out of Patriots camp, and I get it, you're losing a superstar edge rusher. They're not thrilled about the move. I don't understand, like, if it's just delusion or if it's like own fan, like when you look at your team and you're like, okay, they could be good. Pieces could come together. Like that optimism you have when you're talking about your own team. I know you're not. I know you're not a delusional fan. But, like, no one in Boston really thinks the Patriots are going to compete this year, right?
No.
Okay. Why not make that move?
I completely agree with you. Like, I thought early on in camp they were going to get a deal done because Matt Judon was, like, a Patriot guy. You know, was always on social media trying to get other players there. But it was like last week or so, there was that video that came out of he and Gerard Mayo talking during practice, and Judon walked off. You know, he wasn't in pads. I think the rest of the team were in pads. And it was like, clearly he's mad about his contract situation, which I understand, you know, all these players do it every offseason. But the same way they backed out on Brandon Ayuk because they wanted to focus on their young wide receivers, Judon's 32 years old, coming off of an injury. If you pay him for 2-3 years, okay, so he gets a couple of sacks for a team that's still trying to build up what they hopefully can get back to when they had like Brady and all them. Like the ones who are probably mad about the Judon move are the jaded Patriots fans from the Brady era being cut off too early for them, or the fact that Belichick isn't coaching anymore. I feel like a lot of those Patriots fans are mad about the Judon thing. But a lot of analysts and people like me understand the move and the fact they got a third-round pick for him, and it opens up a starting spot for Keon White, who, when he was given opportunities last year, looked like a beast at times. So you give him a chance to show what he can do, and you have Josh Uche, 2 years ago, had 11 and a half sacks. Now the onus is on him to get back to that kind of production. So I'm here for it. Like you said, they're not gonna compete for a Super Bowl or probably not even a playoff spot this year. So why not put young players out there, see what you have in them?
I don't disagree with you. Brett, Mr. Garter 3, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. The move for Matthew Judon signing. Listen, you got to say whatever you want to say. Justin Simmons is an absolute monster. He didn't just forget how to play football. The guy is great. Signing Justin Simmons to add to Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell. They finally get the edge rusher they coveted. Atlanta with Raheem Morris, Kirk Cousins being able to play the quarterback position a lot better than Desmond get rid of her. What's your thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons?
I think this improves their defense tremendously. I think you can make a legitimate argument now that they have the best safety duo in the league. But with Matthew Judon, too, not only is he a great pass rusher pre-injury, which I'm sure that he'll come back just fine, but he was also great at setting the edge and containing rushers as well. So you're not giving up anything in the run game by adding Matthew Judon because of how disciplined he was in that area. So overall, I thought this was just a phenomenal 2 days for the Atlanta Falcons, and I think now they should be favorites to win the South.
I mean, I think they were favorites to win the South before these moves. I'll tell you this. Here's how far I'll go. I think they're currently in a conversation with the Eagles, 49ers, and Lions as the top 4 teams in the NFC. I think they've surpassed the Cowboys. I think they surpassed anybody else. Green Bay, I think they're better than anybody else that's not those 4 teams. So, and I know you're a Packers fan, and we'll get to the Packers and your optimism towards them. But I honestly my opinion would be Atlanta is a top 4 team in the NFC. Godfrey, am I wrong? Okay, Gardy's fair. I've seen you get hyped up, man. Are they not a top 4 team in the NFC right now?
No, I think you can make that argument. I don't disagree with that at all. Even just adding Kirk Cousins is a massive upgrade over Ritter. Just getting the balls into the hands of these playmakers is going to be a massive difference. And this defense is absolutely elite. So honestly, I could very well see them, as health permitting, being a top 4 seed this year.
Godfrey, what's your thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons moves to get Matthew Judon, now Justin Simmons?
I think the defense was a strength for them already last year, so they're making it even stronger. I do think that the secondary specifically. So it's a positive move. I do want to temper the expectations of my man Andre in the chat, saying Lombardi. You do have one handicap that's called Kirk Cousins. So he's going to be good, but we're talking about regular season right now. Playoffs, I don't know how deep they go. They do play better at home. They did last year, even with Arthur Smith being involved. So if they can get, home field advantage somehow or get a playoff game, they can make a playoff run. But yeah, top 4, I don't think that's out of the realm. I mean, if Kirk Cousins is going to definitely elevate the play of the offense for sure. They'll be able to take advantage of Kyle Pitts. I don't know how you can't. I mean, this is a make or break year for him. If you can't succeed with Kirk Cousins, I think he's a bust officially, personally. But Drake London's going to be even better. And then Bijan Robinson, they're going to, when you draft a running back in the first round, you don't put pads on him like styrofoam. You run him, you let him cook. So they're going to do that this year. I think top 4 is reasonable for sure.
All right. Well, we are talking this week about the NFC North and the AFC North, that we will be giving our over-unders, our breakdowns, and we will be starting. Brett told us we're starting with the NFC North. We're going to talk about them first. And I have the over-under sitting right in front of me. So let's get into it. NFC North over-under. We'll start with the lowest one. Well, let's start with the lowest one and head up. And I think I'll start with the lowest one because I think that this is the lock of the century. I think this is the easiest bet you will ever make. And get it now, because I promise you in 48 hours, it'll probably be lower. The Minnesota Vikings over-under this year is 7.5. There is not a snowball's chance in hell that Minnesota Vikings team that has no J.J. McCarthy, obviously, now Jordan Addison was just carted off yesterday, is going to win 8 games. You're crazy if you think Sam Darnold is going into that on that team and winning 8 games. I love me some Brian Flores, but there's not enough that defense can do for that team to win 8 games. I love the under here. Give me the under Minnesota Vikings, and I'm smashing it like hammer.
I'm taking the under too, 100%. Now, I just want to kind of rewind to last week. After that preseason game, if JJ didn't get hurt, would you guys have been more apt to take my opinion that he starts week 1? I would have guessed yes, because he looked good. And Sam Darnold, part of the reason I'm comfortable with that under is because he's not good. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what system you have, how much talent you have. Sam Darnold's not good. There's just no doubt about it. I know Kyle Shanahan thinks he's Steve Young reincarnated, but that's not true. So under is a lock. I agree.
I can't believe it's still at 7.5. I'm floored, right? Actually, a couple sports books have already lowered it down to 6.5. We use ours on FanDuel. That's kind of what we use since we started this, but I cannot believe it's still at 7.5. I think that's a layup. Brett, tell me what I'm missing. Can the Vikings win 8 games?
No. I don't know how else to do this, but be really direct. Absolutely not. They already, with Addison being carted off, their offense needs to be perfect. Even Brian Flores couldn't elevate this defense far enough. This is the 25th ranked defense last year, according to PFF. So, absolutely not. And Godfrey, I just want to throw out there that I still don't think that J.J. McCarthy would have been a week 1 starter. I think he was inconsistent. He looked fine for stretches, but he also threw arguably the worst pick of the day if Stenson Bennett didn't exist.
But Sam Darnold already does that. He's made a career out of it. So what's the difference? You're getting reps for your rookie, and Sam Darnold's a placeholder. It's okay, he would have got a paper cut in week 1. They'd be like, oh, that's it. We got to put McCarthy in. Darnold's hurt. I don't know. It can't happen now, but I feel bad for the kid.
You got to give me I don't think he would have started week 1. I think that I think Jeremy said it best. He said, versus the 2s, he threw a pick. Versus the 3s, he threw 2 touchdowns. It's basically a college level defense. These guys aren't going to be playing pro football. I would temper my preseason opinion of JJ McCarthy. To be honest with you, one of the big touchdowns he threw, that was the worst blown coverage I've seen in a long time. That guy was wide open, butt booty naked wide open. But, he didn't look bad. Let's be clear. But I would temper that. I remember when Sam Bradford looked like the best quarterback in the NFL for a game in the preseason, and we were all like, oh, man, Sam Bradford's that guy.
I never bought into Sammy Sleeves.
I'm glad you didn't.
But
Kyle, are we sweeping? Are we all on the under for the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, I find it hard to find a way that they get to 8 wins, especially no Addison. That
Hawkinson to November.
Yeah, best case scenario was you had Addison, Hawkinson, Jefferson. Whether it's Darnold or McCarthy, they play maybe a little above their head, and their offense is really good. They signed with Aaron Jones as well. He regained some of the good years from Green Bay. And offensively, they look really good to combat some of their shortcomings on the defensive end. But you already started taking away pieces on that side of the ball. And I'm not. No, I cannot see it at all.
If it goes below 6.5, I'm comfortable at 7.5 because remember they squeezed a couple wins out of their butt cheeks last year with Josh Dobbs. So
I'm comfortable at 6.5. I don't think they're winning 7 games. Do you think they're winning 7 games?
I think they could float around there in the NFL.
Not in that division, bro. Everybody in that division's better. Everybody in that division's better. I don't think, and their schedule is ruthless. The Vikings do not have the easiest schedule in the world. We do this every week when we're talking about over-unders, but I don't know, man. Let's just say that by the skin of their teeth, they win week 1 at the Giants, just to be fair. They play the 49ers, the Texans, at Green Bay, the Jets, the Lions, at the Rams, the Colts, at the Jaguars, at the Titans, at the Bears. Do they win any of those games? One of them? I don't know. They could lose every one. I don't think they'll be favored in any of those games. Any of them. And that's if they beat the Giants week 1. That's if they beat the Giants week 1. I don't have confidence of Sam Darnold throwing a ball against that front 7 in New York. The Giants, we talk about the Giants all the time as ha, 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 they're the Giants. But I'll tell you two things. They have a great wide receiver they got in this draft from Malik Neighbors, who's making heads spin at practices and like he looks great. And they have one of the best front sevens in football. Forget they brought in Brian Burns. Look, I love not Leonard Williams. Oh my God, I'm losing my train of thought. Leonard Williams is on Seattle. Dexter Lawrence. I got Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams mixed up all the time. But they have Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Bobby Okereke. All those guys are good ball players. I think the Vikings go way under 7.5. I don't think you're sweating it one bit.
Only way would be a couple of upsets early. They become a real confident team, and maybe, but yeah, looking at that schedule, like the only way you may see legit wins, Giants week 1, and they face like the Cardinals later in the season, but like you want to bet that secondary against a Marvin Harrison Jr.? Like he may go off that day. So, I mean, I can't even say that that's a guarantee either.
All right, let's head into the next team in the NFC North. We're going to go with the Chicago Bears. Their over-under is sitting at 8.5. This team looks completely rebuilt. New quarterback, Caleb Williams. They added Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. You know, you get Jalen Johnson signed in the offseason. That defense looked incredible. The moment Montez Sweat hit that building, the Chicago Bears 8.5 that's not a bad over-under, man. I think that's like spot on. I'll start with you, Brett. It's your division. Bears over-under 8.5, rookie quarterback, but Caleb Williams is legit, man. You're talking about a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm going to go over on the Bears.
Okay.
Watching Caleb Williams, he was really impressive. No matter what he did, throwing off platform, on the move, just navigating the pocket. So overall, I think that they're going to be able to beat that threshold. It'll be tough, 8.5, just because the Bears have a history of somehow finding a way to shoot themselves in the foot. But I think if they stay well coached, disciplined, everybody stays healthy, then I could see this team getting that 9 wins and maybe even 10. We'll see. It'll be interesting.
I want to address what Jeremy just said. I'll put it up there. He said the Bears truly made their O-line better. I'd be higher than I am. I can't say that their O-line is as bad as it was last year. I think Darnell Wright is going to be a superstar at right tackle. Just be clear when I say that. I think Tevin Jenkins is a good left guard. Nate Davis was not bad for them, but he got hurt last year. Ryan Bates, the kid I'm very familiar with out of Penn State. I think that the Bears' offensive line will be serviceable. Do I think they'll be better? Maybe not. But I will say I think they'll be serviceable. For that reason, I'm going over the 8.5. I love the Bears at this number. I think Caleb Williams is going to have some early struggles. But I think what ends up happening with the Bears is I think that they come on strong like they did last year. This is not one I would bet. But if I had to lean one way, I would say 9-8 Chicago Bears hover around that 500 mark.
Yeah, they have a pretty favorable schedule, don't they? I mean, when you look at from the outside in. So, I mean, if we're going to use the same.
Hold on. Did you know what did we watch? I want to see Williams in a game before I even get high on him. I wasn't that impressed by Williams at USC, so not worried about the Bears' schedule will definitely help them out. You weren't impressed with him at USC? You're talking about a no doubt about it number 1 draft pick, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. What were you not impressed with? I would like
Trajan to unmask himself and tell us what team he is a fan of. Me guesses Packers, Vikings, or Lions. Possibly. I could be wrong here, but a lot of people have this prejudice against USC quarterbacks, and I think that's a faulty thing to have, especially with the adaptation of college offenses and pro football. And that's not even something that I would assign to Caleb Williams needing to run. He was in a pro-style offense with Lincoln Riley. So I don't think, you could say, well, it was a USC quarterback. He didn't have all the talent he has around him now in the Bears on USC. They had some nice players, but and they had no defense whatsoever. So he was in pass mode all the time. I mean, some people think he's not going to be good based off some of the optics they saw, him crying with his mom and stuff like that. And I think you'll be foolish to think that. And then you're going to probably be losing some money on some bets during the season because you're going to underestimate him.
I think,
good.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and I think one thing I liked during the preseason, at least, and I know we can't judge everything off one preseason game, but he knew when to get rid of the ball. He was really good at navigating the O-line and just making sure to get rid of the ball just before the pressure got to him, which is something that Justin Fields struggled with and made their line maybe look a little worse than it actually is, because Fields would always hold on to the ball and always look for the deep shot, which would get him into a lot of trouble and make that O-line look really bad. So I think if Caleb Williams just builds on the trend of simply taking the checkdowns that are available to him and just navigating the pocket like he did in that first preseason game, I don't think there'll be any issues at the NFL level.
I'm very failing. I'm just failing. Maybe it's me. I don't know what about 170 quarterback rating with 3,700 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions is not impressive to the people at home. Like I don't know what we're looking at. Like he had 3,700 yards the year prior with Jordan Addison. What am I missing? Did anybody think he looked bad at USC? Like I've seen 2 people in the chat that were not impressed with him at USC. He threw for over 70 touchdowns with 11 interceptions his last 2 years at USC.
Well, Gene, let's be honest.
They want him to 102?
Let's be honest.
Well, wasn't like the Notre Dame game the game that a lot of people
that's where I was gonna go.
Didn't feel so good about him because he threw the 3 picks and he looked really bad in that game. And Notre Dame is held to a standard defensively as being somewhat NFL like, and they saw him struggle in that game. I think that's where a lot of the prove it to me first came from.
Okay. So I mean, like Oregon, who is a college football playoff team, Washington, who is a college football playoff team, he threw no interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 180 quarterback rating. Like those teams, like Utah, that team didn't matter. The 47-45 game versus Utah 2 years ago, where they couldn't get them off the field, and Utah had the best defense in the Pac-12 2 years ago. Like, we're just going to look at one game in Notre Dame?
I agree with you, Gene. And I think why people do that is it's fraudulent analysis. Listen, we like to discuss things here. We're not coming after, but it may be your opinion. And some people have the thought of prove it to me in the pros. I kind of get that. However, a lot of people can't. There's not a lot of people that could say they're watching, West Coast Pac, whatever division are in, Pac-12 football out there. They're not watching those late games on Saturday. Some people are, but most aren't. And so the one game they saw was the Notre Dame game, and they're basing their whole analysis of him off of that one game, which is a gross miscalculation. And the reason why I ask people what team they like, the 2 guys hating on them the most, Packers and Lions fans. We all have an inherent bias when it comes to our team. Admittedly, I do as well. So I'm just saying, if you're not looking at it with your team's colored glasses on, you can see that the kid has ability.
I mean, I guess we'll find out. Just even the year prior, 2022, 4,000 yards, 4 interceptions over the course of 13 games with how many touchdowns is that? 37. Got it. I don't know where I'm missing.
See, but Jeremy, that Jim Plunkett thing, I get that in the history of the NFL, but the game is so much different than you're comparing how the college game and the pro game has evolved over a 50-year span when you make that statement. Jim Plunkett is, he was a great quarterback, but he was also not great when he first came out. But you can look at a lot of Heisman winners since, in the newer era, and they've translated to the pros more often than not in the past. I mean, for every Andre Ware, you have a Charles Woodson. That's rare because you're a defensive player. You have a Devontae Smith. So to me, the way the college game has evolved, and I'm not a huge college fan, but it's changed. You can't just say, well, Heisman winners really don't have a good shot. I mean, I don't know, man. It's kind of, it's nitpicking, I think.
I think he was a much better player than Jaden Daniels. I watched LSU play. Jaden Daniels relied on his legs way more than he should have. Just an opinion.
Jaden Daniels was not nearly as accurate, by the way. He needs receivers with ball skills that can get things out of their catch radius. That's not the case with Caleb Williams. You could see that by watching 2 series, each of them, right away.
And John Suggs said Bo Nix had better numbers. What season? His 5th season? I don't understand. Bo Nix was in college for 17 years. Want to check out his Auburn stats? Like, it's not the same thing.
Did he play with Cam Newton? I'm just joking. I don't
He
know.
was Cam Newton's backup.
I mean, he might like Bo
I'm
Nix
kidding.
was there forever, but
that's okay.
I will just say that I do think the Bears number is very tempting because they do seem like they finally are making smart decisions.
Johnny Manziel looked good in college. You're drunk if you think that they're the same level of player. You're drunk right now. The crack up is getting smoked. There is no way you could watch a football game with both of them and tell me that they're even in the same stratosphere. Johnny Manziel was playing dirt backyard football. That dude had 0 skills, and this is the only thing I'll be remembered for. Come on, it's not even close.
So are you on the over under, Kyle?
I think they make it interesting. I'm gonna go slightly under.
Love the
I think
chat.
I think maybe next year they make a that leap. I don't think it happens this year.
By the way, I love the comments in the chat. Just
Yeah,
because I'm coming back at you guys. It's for all fun, all love. Hope no one takes it personal. But
yeah, I'm over. I'm over and I could constantly say it. Looking at their schedule, the improvement of the offensive line after seeing Caleb Williams in college and a little bit in the pros. You know, the kid loves football. You can tell he's about the game. They gave him Keenan Allen, who's a route master for him. He's going to be able to get the ball to him. They put DeAndre Swift in there. They got, and then you have DJ Moore. You got 2 solid receivers there, and they drafted some talent. And then
Rome Odunze was arguably in the same ballpark as Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. There's conversations. Rome Odunze was incredible for Washington. If you got to go back and watch the Washington tape, Rome Odunze was always open. They threw him the ball, jump ball guy. They're going to have Keenan Allen playing out of the slot, contrary to what a lot of people think. Rome Odunze will be your X receiver. Your Z will be DJ Moore, and then your wide receiver is going to end up being Keenan Allen. I think that you'll really enjoy having a huge opportunities to throw the ball to 3 guys that are ultra talented and have got a lot to get themselves.
And Montez Sweat, people criticized him. That guy played really good last year for him, and that kid Booker. I was hearing about him before Hard Knocks, and I'm seeing that kid. That kid's, I think he could be a sleeper. He's a stud, 3rd round pick, I believe. On the other side of Montez Sweat, that defense is going to be no joke. I mean, they're not pushovers anymore. And they competed with the Lions at home with Justin Fields last year. I think they, so I don't underestimate. I'm going with the over easily.
I love this comment because I'm a huge Hendon Hooker guy. And I know you're a Lions fan, Jeremy, and I understand. I'm a big Hendon Hooker guy. I'm looking forward to seeing him play in the NFL. I think he's an NFL style quarterback. I think he'll be great. And I'll check out what clip you sent me. I didn't see it yet, but we'll check it out. Okay, so I'm going to skip on the Packers for now. We're going to go to Packers last because I want to go win-loss record with the group to see where we finish as a group because Brett's a Packers fan. That's the fair way to do it. We're going to give the Packers their due. They're going to get a little extra due on the show today. We're going to move right to the Lions, who, if you guys don't know, the Lions have been my pick to go to the Super Bowl from the NFC as of March. I picked the Lions versus the Jets. I know that's a crazy, outlandish prediction, but that's where I'm at. That's where I was at in March, and I'm staying with it. Green Bay Packers, we'll talk about them shortly. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions over under 10.5 wins. I'll start with Mr. Taking It Deep, the Godfrey. 10.5 for the Detroit Lions.
It's tough. I'll take the over. I mean, listen, they've done a lot of good things. They got to stay healthy. We'll see how things translate. I just wonder, like, with a tougher schedule, everybody knows who they are. They're not sneaking up on anybody. Do they take a little bit of a step back? But I can't really, nothing's really indicated me that they're going to do that. So, I mean, I'm going over.
I don't care if Gibbs is out for a bit, even if he is. I'll check that. I think that he's scheduled to come back before week 1, but if he's not, I don't care. The Lions' offensive line is what makes that running back room so dangerous.
Montgomery,
Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that they'll be fine even if Gibbs has to miss a few games. What I'm looking at with this Detroit Lions team, and I'll be very clear here, is I love Terry and Arnold. I think he's a lockdown cornerback that they added. They went out and they got give them credit. They went on offseason. They seen they had problems at the cornerback position. Carlton Davis is now the other corner opposite of Terry and Arnold. That's a totally new room. Brian Branch had a great rookie season at the safety position. Jack Campbell had a great rookie season as a middle linebacker. Aiden Hutchinson has proven to be everything. I remember draft night when everyone told me Trevon Walker or Aiden Hutchinson's a bust. And I said, Aiden Hutchinson, me and Jeremy were on our ledge together talking about how much Aiden Hutchinson is a winner. Aiden Hutchinson was incredible for that team. And they have one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in football. Penei Sewell is already a Hall of Famer. The guy's that good at right tackle. Taylor Decker, top 5 left tackle in football. Frank Ragnow, second or third best center in football. And that's without Kevin Zeitler. That team is loaded. And I'll tell you right now, go back and watch Georgia, Alabama. You need to go back and watch Georgia, Alabama, and you watch how good Jamison Williams is. He came off an ACL tear last year. He was not the same player that he was for that Alabama Crimson Tide. Jamison Williams with a full offseason this year is going to be electric. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the guy that walks around with a chip on his shoulder. I love that team. I do, and I hate admitting it because they're going to end up being a rival of my team. But I love the Lions, and I'll take the over, and I'll take the over by a lot. I think they win 12 games in this division. I'll take the over for the Lions, and they're still my Super Bowl prediction to come out of the NFC.
I just hope Jamison Williams stays away from his DraftKings account.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because he lost, 6 games? Like, that definitely help him. I mean, and it's sneaky that because he's going to be a lot better now, and he's the wide receiver opposite Amon-Ra St. Brown. So they were kind of missing that last year. He wasn't fully acclimated. He got down there. Now he's going to have a full offseason under his belt. He's going to surprise people. People are going to forget about him in fantasy drafts. They're going to forget. I'm telling you, that's going to be a steal this year.
Jamison Williams, my man, J-Mo. Brett, where we at?
Yeah, I think it's over. I think this division as a whole could very well send 3 teams, but I do have to admit, and I hate admitting it, but the Lions probably will be finished first in the division. I'm guessing they get to 12 wins. This team is just loaded. Their offensive line is stacked. Their defensive line, they just added DJ Reader whenever he comes back. That's a massive boost to their run defense to go with Aiden Hutchinson. If Marcus Davenport has something, I'm sure the Lions will bring it out of him. So overall, they drafted well. This team, I think, is not only first in the division, I think they repeat what they did last year and win 12 games again.
Kyle, where are we at on the Lions? Are we sweeping the over here?
I mean, you almost have to. Like what they did last year, the way, Dan Campbell and Jared Goff both, you could say redemption stories, finding each other in Detroit, performing much better than previous places that they were. The upgrades that they have made, once again, like the Dan Campbell culture that he's built there, it's hard not to root for them, and it's hard to see them taking a step back. I feel like he's going to make sure that the team is very motivated to not only get back to where they were last year, but try to get further, deeper into the playoffs. So, yeah, I think they're probably like a 12-win team, so I'll take the over as well.
All right, let's move on to the pack. Go, Pack, go. Listen, I know me and Brett are going to be in a different side of this. I know we are. I love Brett. I actually legitimately would love for the Packers to be the class of this division again. That's how much I like Brett. But I got to give my objective opinion, and I hope I'm wrong. This is one of those ones where I hope I'm wrong. Packers over-unders at 9.5. But before we all give our over-under, one of you guys got a computer or a pen and paper up? Can you calculate if we go through the schedule one by one where we finish? Can someone do that for me?
I got you.
My man. So what we're going to do is we'll quickly go through, for the sake of time, wins, losses, If there's a really big game, we'll break it down a little bit. But we're going to try to go quickly through this because we got to get to the AFC North. But we're going to go through the entire Packers schedule. And I got it up right now for you guys. And we'll start with opening week in Brazil versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'll start as that will be a loss. And I'm very confident that that will be a loss.
That's a game. That's a big game. It could go either way. I'm confident we can win that one, but I would not be shocked either if the Eagles pulled that one off. Overall, it should be a very demanding game, but we can start them off with a loss. That's fine. I think that game could go either way.
You're allowed to give them whatever you want, Brett. You want to give them a win, you give them a win. We're doing it. Everyone's over under right here. I'm giving them a loss though. Godfrey, where are we at?
Oh man, that's such a tough game to gauge because the whole Brazil factor being on a Friday. By the way, I have to be a wedding that night. Yeah, so I'm gonna cart a TV into that wedding. Sorry, guys. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Eagles on that one. I just think the Eagles are a little bit more put together than the Packers right now. So I just see traditionally we have played well against them. I should say the Eagles have. I'm gonna go with the Eagles. It's a win for the Eagles. It's gonna be a close game.
All right.
Yeah, I think it'll be real competitive, but I'll take the Eagles in that one as well.
All right, so we got 0-1. Let's go a little bit quicker. Week 2, they got a home game versus the Indianapolis Colts. I'm giving the Green Bay Packers a win here. I think that their defense will be too much for Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, W for me.
Yeah, I'll go win.
I have them also winning week 3 at the Tennessee Titans. I'm not a Will Levis believer, and I think Jordan Love will outduel Will Levis, even though that game is in Tennessee.
Yeah, I think we win that one too. I think our pass rush will be too much for Levis.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting, but I'll take the Packers in that one.
Godfrey?
Yeah, Packers. I'll take the Packers.
All right, we have both right now are 2-1. I think we'll all have them 3-1 with a home game versus the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, this one scares me. This is the Packers normally, for some reason, struggle the first game against the Vikings every year, but I think we'll win this year.
I think they go 4-1. All right, Kyle, are you Kyle Godfrey? Where are you at?
Yeah, so I'm with you on that one. 3-1.
I'm reading the schedule, so I see.
Yeah, same one.
There.
Yep.
All right, so week 5 at the Los Angeles Rams. I have this pegged as a win for the Packers. I think that they'll go into Los Angeles. I think they'll be 4-1. I think they'll beat Matthew Stafford. I think the Rams have a down year. I think losing Raheem Morris is going to lose so much for that defense. So I have them winning this football game, and I have them going 4-1.
Yeah, I agree. I think we not only win, I think we dominate the Rams.
Yeah, I agree. Packers win.
Godfrey?
Yeah, I'm going to go Packers on that.
At home versus the Arizona Cardinals. You're talking about the class of the NFC right now. They're 5-1.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to go Pack.
See.
Okay. Now I think it gets really interesting. I think it gets really tough. And I'm going to go through this real quick for you guys. Houston, Jacksonville, Detroit, Chicago, San Francisco, Miami, Detroit. That is the Packers' schedule, right? Week 7 through 14 is going to be Murderer's Row. I'll start with a loss versus CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans.
Loss.
All right.
Loss.
I do think we also lose the Texans.
It's 5-2. They go to Jacksonville. You guys might be different than me. I think they lose that game at Jacksonville. It's in Jacksonville. If that game is in Green Bay, I think I might swap that. But being in Jacksonville, I'm going the Jaguars. We might split here.
Yeah,
I'm going Jags.
I think we beat the Jags.
I'm with Brett. I think they beat the Jags.
All right, so we're split 2-2, exactly down the middle.
Yep.
Then they have a home game versus the Detroit Lions. I have them winning this football game. at home versus the Lions.
I got them losing.
That's 3 straight for Godfrey.
If I know the Packers, they'll lose the one at home, but win the one in Detroit. So I'll give them a loss here.
Okay, so
I
bye
think they win
week
that.
happens.
Mhm.
They come out of the bye week and they play the Chicago Bears in Chicago. Super confident in the Chicago Bears win here.
Yeah, I'm going Bears.
Yeah, I'll still take the Packers over the Bears.
It's fair. I mean, listen, Aaron Rodgers said it. They own them. Kyle, where are you at on this one?
Tough one. I'll take the Bears. I think they split with the Bears, so I'll give the Bears one at home.
I'm in the same boat you are, by the way. Then they play the 49ers in Green Bay. I think they lose this one.
Yeah, this is a loss.
I'm gonna go win. Revenge game
I'll
from
go
last
loss.
year.
Okay. Then they got to play the Miami Dolphins, but this is in Green Bay. So I will give them a win. I do not think that speed will translate to Lambeau Field at the end of November. I'm going to give this one to the Green Bay Packers. I'm trying to be as objective as possible here.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Green Bay as well.
I say I'm
Same
doing my
here.
best to stay objective here, but yeah, I think we beat the Dolphins.
Then they play at Detroit. Now, remind you, I gave them the win at home versus Detroit. I am having them lose the game at Detroit.
Yeah, I had them lose the other one. This is the one I think they pull it out.
Okay. I have it as a loss.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it as a loss.
Then we're going to Seattle. This is the one game I think the Packers trip up. They play the Seattle Seahawks December 15th in Seattle. So I'm going to be clear real quick. I have them losing this game and then winning the next 3. So that's where I'm at. But I have them losing this game at Seattle.
Yeah, I think they lose this one too. This is like the perfect loss for them.
Yeah, I have them losing that. I mean, you know, it's a tough trip. You know, it's a tough stadium to play in. I think the Seahawks should be a little bit better than people are giving them credit for right now.
I'll give them the win.
The next 3, I want to be quick here. It's New Orleans in Green Bay, at Minnesota, and Chicago in Green Bay. I have them winning all 3 of those football games.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
I'll go 2 out of 3. I think we lock up a wild card spot by the end, and the Bears beat us at home because we really don't have anything to play for.
Kyle, how did we finish? Give me a drum roll because I don't know.
Okay, so you have them at 11-6. So does Brett. Godfrey has them at 10-7. I have them at 11-6 as well.
So I have an 11-6.
Yep.
How about that? I guess I'm going over. I did the schedule. I thought I was going to be on the under. I'm going over. Let's move on. And 11-6 is fair. 11-6 is super fair.
Hey, I was
Good.
going to say I was going to guess 10-7 for them, but you know what? I put them at 11-6 too. I'll take that. Even better.
Let's go over to the AFC North, which most people believe is the best division in football, and I'm not going to argue with them. We're going to start with the Cincinnati Bengals because this is the one I'm most bold on. The Cincinnati Bengals are over-under is 10.5, and I'm hammering the under.
Yeah, I'm going under too.
So it's 10.5?
Yes.
That's high. I'll go under on that one.
Yeah,
They're a cheap
'cause I probably had 'em
organization.
as like a 10-1 team.
Jamar Chase isn't in camp. He's pissed. He wants his contract. It's not going to be a good thing. You know, they got to pay certain people. I think they've lost some pieces, and I think the Bengals take a step back this year.
And not
I
to
also think
mention,
it's kind of difficult. Oh, go ahead, Brett. Sorry.
oh no, I was just going to say, not to mention, I think the run game takes a step back as well, going from Joe Mixon to Zach Moss. Even though Mixon did have a down year last year, I still think he provided a versatility, being able to run and catch the ball as well as he does. That going from him to Moss is a downgrade for sure.
I think
Yeah, I
Moss
was
is
just
a
gonna say
little
like I
underrated.
find it hard. Oh, my bad, McCaffrey. But I was just
No,
gonna
go
say
ahead.
like I find it hard that the owner came out and said like, oh, we're paying all of our guys. They let Mixon go. They let Boyd go. I have to believe they're gonna pay Chase eventually. That's all.
They want to make him wait till next year. That's the problem.
I'm hard under for the Bengals, and I mean this when I say this. I actually genuinely believe the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow might retire next year. If he has another injury, and I mean this, I just see Andrew Luck all over it. When you're questioning your mortality due to injuries, that offensive line, hopefully it holds together for him. He's had injury after injury. The last one was to his elbow. That is a terrible spot. He'll never be able to throw the football the same. I don't like this. I really think the Bengals are ripping at the seams. They lost Boyd. Higgins is upset about a contract. Chase is upset about a contract. They're in one of the toughest divisions in football. I think the Bengals are finishing last place in this division.
Well, Chase, you knew they had to pay. These other guys that they didn't pay, that was expected. They weren't going to re-sign Boyd. Higgins, you knew they weren't going to spend big money on him because he's in the IU camp. He wants the number one contract money, but you can only, the way the Bengals are, remember that owner is notoriously cheap. Okay. They're going to pay Chase, but they're trying to get their dollar out of it and they want to wait till next year. I just, I don't think Zach Moss. I think Zach Moss is going to be a little underrated this year, but it's just too much. And I do think Burrow is, he's getting these freak injuries, man. And I just think at a certain point, it's you can't bank on that. You know what I mean? So it just, what are you going to do? They're under that, no doubt in my mind.
Listen, they start off versus New England, and that's a nice start. Then they go at Kansas City, and then they get Washington and Carolina. They better be 3-1 through those first 4 games because it gets tougher. Baltimore, Giants, Browns, Eagles, Raiders, Ravens, Chargers, Steelers, Cowboys, Browns. It's not an easy schedule. It's not an easy division. I'm going under here. All right, so we're all on under for the Bengals. Nobody's over that 10.5, right?
Right.
Let's go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Over under set at 8.5. All Mike Tomlin does is finish above 500. Do you think he does it one more time with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields?
I'll put my fucking mortgage on this over. I mean, listen, they made the playoffs last year with who at quarterback?
Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
And Kenny Pickett, little hand. So I just think that defense is good. They've gotten better. They added Patrick Queen. They got George Pickens. They might get Ayuk. They got a couple good running backs. The offensive line has improved. I see no reason why they can't be over 8.5 wins.
They better be at 7 wins by week 10. They're not 7-3 after week 10. I don't think they get anywhere near this. I'm going under, and I'll cite this as under. Week 11, home versus Baltimore. Week 12, at Cleveland. Week 13, at Cincinnati. Week 14, home versus Cleveland. Week 15, at Philadelphia. Week 16, at Baltimore. Week 17, home versus Kansas City. And week 18, home versus the Cincinnati Bengals. They better be at 7 wins before by the time if they're not 7-3 after week 10, they got no shot. Because I'm telling you right now, that schedule down the back end is not fair. It's not a good schedule. It's a very tough schedule. Nobody has a schedule like that to end their season. That is insane.
Now, keep in mind, though, they pulled off a win with that same team against the Ravens.
I'm not saying they can't win any of those games, but do you think they'll be favored in any of those 8 games? Any of them?
No, but when it comes to division games, man, it's just, even if a team's bad outside the division, they just play each other tough. And Baltimore and Pittsburgh is one of those rivalries. And I just feel like Pittsburgh, even last year, I know the last of the games didn't really count, but they beat them 20-19 with Kenny Pickett and with no offense. Yeah. With the MVP Lamar last year. Kyle loves that one. And, I don't know, man. I think they're going to definitely take one of those from Baltimore, 100%.
We'll see. I'm not.
Cleveland just seems to have the worst luck against the Steelers too. They lose players that get career-ending injuries, like all kinds of crazy shit happens. It's almost like the Deshaun Watson curse or something, like just comes on the field. But
Tomlin finds a way late in the season to steal a game or two. And I mean, I know we're about to talk about Cleveland, but games against them, you don't know because that, like Godfrey said, we don't know what Watson we're getting this year.
Yeah, I'll like when I look at the Steelers roster, I really want to say under, but Tomlin found a way to pull off the over last year with Kenny Pickett. I'm convinced he can do it with anybody now because that dude's just a bum. So I'll take the over.
Okay.
they just need a quarterback to be above average, slightly above average. Seriously,
I don't know if you get that from Russ. We'll see.
That's a good question, and that is the if. I agree. That's a fair question.
Browns are sitting at 8.5. They have a weird schedule. And I looked at their schedule before because Cottrell is a Browns fan. I mean, I'll just go through it quickly. They play Dallas to open up the season. That's a coin flip. They play Jacksonville in Jacksonville. That's a coin flip. They get a couple easy games in the middle of the schedule with the Giants, the Raiders, the Commanders. Then they play at Philadelphia, at home versus the Cincinnati Bengals, at home versus Baltimore, home versus the Chargers, at New Orleans, which I don't care how bad they are. It's always a tough place to play. They play the Steelers. They play at Denver in December. Always tough place to play. At Pittsburgh, the Chiefs, at Cincinnati, the Dolphins, at Baltimore. Very tough schedule for the Browns. Very tough schedule for the Browns. I have them finishing 8-9. Would not be shocked if they were 9-8. I think they're a fringe, middle-of-the-road playoff team. I would not be shocked if they were 9-8. I have the Browns finishing 8-9, and I'll take the slight under.
And I think that's the right. Yeah, I think that's the right spot for them. Like this roster is just offensively is so questionable, just because obviously, will the real Deshaun Watson please stand up? Like, or are you closer to Houston Watson, or is last year the new Deshaun Watson? We don't know what to expect from him. But not only that, the real heart of their offense, Nick Chubb, after suffering that gruesome leg injury, who knows how he looks. And if you have to run the entire season, if he can't really play heavy minutes with, Jerome Ford as pretty much your big running back, like your running back one, because Chubb can't make it through the season, this offense is going to struggle hard. So I'm going to go the slight under.
I'll say this. The Cleveland Browns could have one of the best defenses in all of football. And, they have a couple acquisitions in the offseason. They can remain healthy. Myles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Jordan Hicks, Devin Bush, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, Martin Emerson Jr., who I don't know if you guys seen it, but he has a clip on the internet going viral today of him locking down Justin Jefferson in one-on-ones today. Greg Newsome, who's been a very good nickelback, and Juan Thornhill. That defense is loaded. Now, the problem is they're always hurt. Denzel Ward is always hurt. Jordan Hicks, always hurt. Greg Newsome's always battling something. So I don't think Chubb's out at all. I think Chubb starts the season, but we'll find out, I guess.
I have faith in Jerome Ford. I think people sleep on him. I think he's actually a pretty good back. I would take him in fantasy in the later end rounds. And, if anybody wants to play the running back zero game, because I think Chubb, I don't know, he's got to be on the pup. But if he's not going to be on the pup to start the season, I still would take him. He's going to catch the ball in the backfield too. They're a run-first offense. If Deshaun Watson can show up, and listen, I think, listen, he's the villain. No one likes him anymore. It's pretty unanimous across the board, even Browns fans, especially now after what he's given them. I still think there's some talent there, and health. He was battling health. It wasn't just him looking like crap. I mean, he had an elbow injury, which we all know is a problem. So does he come back from it healthy? I think he maybe wants to prove something to people this year. And, if they get Deshaun Watson, closer to the Houston version, I think it's good. I mean, Jerry Jeudy, we'll see if he's going to develop here. I think that was a kind of a prudent trade by them. So I'm going with the over. Defense keeps them in the game.
Okay.
Yeah, with that defense, you just need Deshaun Watson to hand the ball off, kill him in play action, and just protect the ball. They'll be good. The number was what, 8.5?
Yes.
I think they kind of get to 9. I think they're sneaky over.
It's fair. It's not one I would bet. It's one I would completely stay away from.
I'll say I would not bet this at all, because if they won 7 games this year, I wouldn't be surprised. But if they won like 10 this year, I wouldn't be surprised also. Just if Deshaun Watson comes back closer to Houston, Deshaun Watson, all of a sudden this is probably just a very strong playoff team.
Look at the character of that coach on that team. They limped to the wins to a playoff appearance with Joe Flacco and a bunch of other guys, Beckham or whoever, whatever that guy's name was, some other dude. I'm like, what? So, I mean, if they can stay healthy, man, I think they'll be a force. They'll surprise a lot of people. That's the big if is the health, because they are always injured. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens, right now the class of the division, 10.5. I'll start with this one. I'm going to give you the over. I think the Baltimore Ravens defense is just so good. And like Kyle knows best how good Kyle Van Noy can be. Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson, Justin Matabukwe was unbelievable last year. Their secondary is loaded. Kyle Hamilton's probably already the best safety in football. I love the Ravens defense. I do like their offensive line. I'm not a fan of the Derrick Henry move. I don't think it fits as well as people think it will. But I'll tell you this. Keaton Mitchell will not be back to start the season, but I think Keaton Mitchell can be back to be in the middle of the season and provide a little thunder and lightning with that Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell. I like the over. I like the Ravens to win a lot of football games this year. I know Kyle's a hater. Go ahead, Kyle.
I mean,
where's Jordan when you need him? Hopefully,
I'm not a
I
hater.
Jordan sitting in a corner listening to this and says, "Say under, Kyle. Go ahead, say under."
I mean, he probably is. Look, I feel like they're a good regular season team. But we'll give them that. So I'm sure they'll get to that number and they'll get the over. I'm just at the point where they gotta do something in the playoffs. I said it before, like I don't care about their regular season. Ravens fans will go crazy if they win opening night against the Chiefs. They'll act like they've done something. I don't care. Derrick Henry, I mean, I root for Derrick Henry, so I'm not going to include him in this, but Lamar could go on and have a MVP season, get his 3rd MVP. Don't care. He still is not that good to me. So until Lamar can make throws outside the numbers consistently,
how dare you?
I am not impressed. Like, defenses should load up the box, double team Mark Andrews, play the run, and let's see what Lamar can do. That's where I'm at. So they'll get the over in the regular season because that's what they do, whatever. But I still wouldn't have them as one of the favorites to make the Super Bowl because they'll find a way to mess it up in the playoffs.
I treat Jordan like Joe Hendry. Say his name and he'll appear. I believe in Jordan Jean Lewis. I'm kidding. Where are we at on the Ravens over under, Brett?
I think this one's pretty easy. I think they'll hit the over in the regular season. I'm very confident in their defense. I think they only got better. Their offense, they got a bunch of maulers on that line. Not to mention, shout out one of my favorite players in the league, Patrick Ricard. Always had a love for a good old-fashioned fullback. I do agree with you. I don't think Derrick Henry fits as well as you'd think in the Ravens offense. I think he's more of a getting a full head of steam and not necessarily a shotgun pistol runner. So I'm not sure how he's going to work, if they're going to be able to fully utilize him to his strengths, because him and Lamar run two different running styles, but I do think in the regular season, this isn't over.
Godfrey?
Yeah, man, it's tough for me, man, because I think the Ravens are going to take a step back this year. I think it's going to be a season for them where, like, do we fire another offensive coordinator or do we actually look at Lamar for what he's not doing? And, I think, I saw him play last year and I was like, oh, he's doing good. I see some improvements. And then it was almost like when they got to the playoffs, they were like, meh, we're going to go back to what we used to do. And I do think that, with his lack, I don't know what to say ability, but willing to maybe go outside the numbers in a sense, defenses can make him dribble left, metaphorically speaking, when it comes to that offense. And I don't know, you can have Tom Monken, you can have Greg Roman, you can have whoever, you still got to add that element that's missing to it. So they should get over 10. But I'm just going to make it fun and say, I'm going to take the under and say they get 10 wins. How about that? Let's just do it. Let's just make it fun. All right. Because, listen, they do good in the regular season, but they have had drop-off seasons. Is it one of the seasons where Lamar's like, you know what? I don't like really how it's going. Peace out for the last 4 games. And if you're in the playoffs, yeah, the backup could play. I'll never forget that. And the people, I think he could have absolutely played. I'm sorry. I'll die on that hill.
Yeah, but he's not on the franchise tag. And I understand,
but still, that's
risking an ACL injury on a franchise tag. I'm not saying he couldn't have played, and I called him a coward too. But I think it's different after you get your money versus before you get your money. I'll give him all the credit in the world. He played every game last year for them. But I will say this: if he goes down, they have nothing behind him. They have no serviceable backup. You know who their backup is? Anyone want to take a guess on who Ravens' backup quarterback is?
Bobby Brister.
Yes, it might be worse. Anyone? Bueller?
Wasn't it a Browns legend, Josh Johnson?
That is correct. Josh Johnson.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's a terrible backup quarterback. It is.
Well,
I've been around forever.
I don't know. He's terrible. He should not be a backup quarterback in this league.
dude,
Go put him in the XFL, UFL. Let him play over there because he shouldn't be in the NFL.
Yeah.
Let that Pro Bowler Huntley go out the door.
Oh, yeah, that's hilarious. You know what, though? What are they going to do when they go into a playoff game and Derrick Henry has more touchdown passes than Lamar Jackson in that playoff game?
Start Derrick Henry at quarterback the next game.
Because he did that happen against the Titans the one year, I believe. Derrick Henry had that pass. That Lamar didn't have one. I mean, listen, I like Lamar. I think he's an excited player. I like the Ravens. I like the coach. He was a former Eagles coach.
Devin Leary, you talking about NC State's own? Oh man, bro, or didn't he go? Was he Kentucky or NC State? Might have been Kentucky. I might be wrong. Devin Leary, was he Kentucky or NC State?
I mean, does the defense take a step back because of Patrick Queen? You don't think that will affect him?
I think it will take a step back, but I think I honestly believe that. Let me see something.
He was Kentucky. He was Kentucky.
He was NC State too, though. He went to. Yeah, I was right. NC State's own. He transferred to Kentucky his last season. I remember watching Devin Leary play NC State constantly.
I'm gonna
also
buy
lost Mike McDonald. Has the factor as well.
100% does. 100% does.
I'm buying low.
I think the defense is just so good.
I'm buying low on the Steelers and taking them to win the division.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. Look at the odds right now.
You're not.
Beat each other. They beat them both times last year, and they had Kenny Pickett at quarterback and Mason Rudolph. The last game didn't really count.
You're a crazy person if you take the Steelers to win that division. By the way, the Phillies are finally turning it on 9-1.
Nice.
About time.
My guy Drake May scrambled for a touchdown.
Yeah, Drake May's in there. What are you doing versus our 4 stringers? Just kidding.
Don't worry about that.
I'm kidding. He looks really good, apparently. 5 for 7, 50 yards, touchdown. Good for Drake. I'll make this very known. I think Drake May has the shortest career out of every quarterback that was drafted this year, and that includes Spencer Rattler.
Not exactly the transition I was hoping for, but okay.
Well, here's my take on it. You might actually like this take.
Yeah.
I think that the Patriots finished with the worst record in football this year. And I think if they finish with the worst record in football this year, they're going to go out and draft a quarterback number 1. And I think they move on from Drake May a lot faster than you think they will.
Say Drake May getting that Josh Rosen treatment?
Well, yeah, that's kind of where my head's at. I think they could move. I hope they don't, but I think they could move on from Gerard Mayo after 1 year. I really believe that. I don't look.
Kraft loves him. I don't know if it's after 1 year.
He would have to have a Josh McDaniels type of collapse.
Yeah, it would have to look like abysmal for that to even enter Kraft's mind.
There's 3 quarterbacks that are coming out in this, and if you're college fans, guys, we got about 4 minutes, we'll wrap up. But there's 3 quarterbacks, if you're college fans, to look out for. If you have a team that's tanking or a team that's not looking good this year, there's 3 quarterbacks to look out for. One is Carson Beck out of Georgia, pro-style quarterback. Kid's got a dynamic arm. One is obviously Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. I don't think he'd go to New England. I think that Dion would figure out a way to make sure that doesn't happen. But the quarterback I can see going to the New England Patriots, and the guy that I think might win the Heisman Trophy this year, Quinn Ewers out of Texas. That guy's got such a good arm. And Dylan Gabriel, this is what I mean. John, you brought up Bo Nix earlier, and now you're bringing up Dylan Gabriel. Are you a Ducks fan? Dylan Gabriel's another 5th-year senior playing in a Ducks offense that's going to be incredible this year. I got news for you, John. The best quarterback on your roster is not starting. Dylan Gabriel's going to start for them this year, but they got a kid behind him that is going to be a 5-star machine. You look out for him. But
do you think Shedeur is that good? Like, do you think he's going to be?
I mean, I think he's going to be good. You're talking about he played behind the Colorado team with no offensive line. I don't know why. You know, the funny thing is this, right? We love to overhype or underrate Colorado. Deion Sanders did exactly what he wanted to do. He got us talking about Colorado football. Were you guys talking about Colorado football 3 years ago? The answer is no.
I don't think anybody's talking about it forever. Forget 3 years ago. Yeah.
My point. So he got his players out there in the limelight. He's got Shedeur, Travis Hunter. I give him credit. Give credit where credit's due. But the problem is this, right? We talk about an offensive line being important to a quarterback. That's the only position that Prime could not steal in the transfer portal. He got a ton of skill position players, but his lines are where he really struggles. And you see, the funny thing is, Jordan, can I ask you a question? Did you hate Colorado 3 years ago? Or did you not care about them? She said, I hate Colorado.
When they started losing last year, a lot of people stopped talking about them too.
But they do too much. That's fine. And I don't disagree with her. But I'll say this. They do too much to stay in the – exactly. I didn't care then. They do too much to stay in relevancy. Yeah. NIL is relevancy. The TV deals is relevancy. Hey, by the way, where's Roman Reigns at? In the island of relevancy. There you go.
Yo, I don't really have my allegiance to a specific college football team. I might draft myself to the Colorado Buffaloes just to hitch myself to a team and just watch them next year. Because you know what? It was good theater, whether you know what I mean. And I mean, he's got the talent on there. That one kid got the lacerated kidney, so that kind of ruined his season. You know, we'll see.
On a dirty play, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Such a dirty play. There's no need for that. That kid should have got thrown out of college football. That play was so bad.
And I kind of didn't like how the Oregon coach was acting too. So I kind of hope they get their ass beat by him, but we'll see.
You know who the Oregon coach is? The architect of that defense for the Georgia Bulldogs that won the national championship.
Interesting.
That's really funny. So, all right. Well, that's what we got. We're 8:15, guys. Any final thoughts? Great NFC North, AFC North conversations. Next week, we'll be talking about the NFC and AFC East. I'm fired up about that. Kyle's division, myself and Godfrey's division. We'll break down that. Yeah, Dan Lanning he's not ass. Come on. I know you don't like him, Jory. I know you got your favorites, but Dan Lanning is a very good coach, just like Kalen DeBoer. I love that. Sanders, third best clean pocket passing grade last year with that terrible offensive line. Third best from a clean pocket, he had a 93 quarterback rating. So, yes, I do think Shedeur Sanders will be a decent quarterback.
Yeah, and part of the reason people don't like Colorado because Deion Sanders says the quiet part out loud a lot, and that rubs people the wrong way. And I like that. So I like that it rubs people the wrong way. Call me a villain. I don't know, and it just like Deion is who Deion is, but like he's not wrong for certain things he says, and it's the truth. You know what I mean? People don't like disruptors, and I feel like he was a disruptor in the college football last year, by making a team relevant that no one gave a shit about. Their best play to memory was Cordell Stewart Hail Mary. I don't know of anyone outside of that. Do you?
John Suggs, you're a great listener. Really appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you in other shows. You should check out Coast to Coast on Saturday mornings. It sounds like you're a super college football fan. Those guys break down college football. Later on tonight, we're going to have my man Guardy3 and Mo Better talking about some N1, some basketball action. Kyle Edwards, where are we seeing you next, my friend?
Well, you will see me tomorrow, Integrity Sports Network with Jory. We've gone through our series of going through the divisions. We will be talking about playoff teams tomorrow.
Passion and Precision tomorrow night. Check them out. And then our first edition of Birds Deep will be next Thursday with myself, the Godfrey, and Cool McCain. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, before we wrap up?
Go Birds.
Go Pack Go.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in to Sideline. What'd you say?
Patriots will shock the world.
I love that. Thank you guys for tuning in to Sideline. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. That's taking it deep with D. Godfrey. He's not guarding the 2. He's guarding the 3. And the Prince of Production, Passion and Precision, Kyle Edwards. And we are signing